Let's close out this Pride Month with one last surprise. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and we are here with episode 1 of Heartstopper. This is a donation reward. And it is, let me just make absolutely sure here. I want to make sure I get the name correct and everything. But while this is getting up, this is a donation reward. It's our new Thursday slot for now. I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this series. It's really popular, but I kind of talked about it when I announced this as the replacement for this slot. But let's talk about it again here. So, I'm not the biggest fan of queer-centered stories. Let me explain. You guys know I am queer. Obviously, the title of the channel gives it away. Princess Gay, it's like I'm also, trans. I'm a trans woman, I'm non-binary, and I'm pansexual. I am very gay. But if that wasn't enough, it's like you may know from certain things I've reacted to on the channel. I love queer characters, I love queer romances, I love all that stuff in media. But what I don't like is stories that primarily focus on it. And I know that might sound really weird, but there's kind of a reason for it. By the way, this series is a donation reward for Sydney. So thank you, Sydney, for donating for this. But hear me out. So I like animated series and stuff and things like that have a lot of queer characters and whatnot, right? Owl House is a big example, Dead End Paranormal Park, etc., etc. One Piece, obviously. But you know what all three of those shows that I just named have in common? None of them are about the queer experience. One Piece, there's a lot of queer characters in there and a lot of themes and messaging, but the series is in no way about that. Owl House, it's a notable romance, and multiple characters in it are queer, and there's great representation, but the series is not about the queer experience. The characters are queer, but that's not the show's plot and premise. And Dead End Paranormal Park is probably the most heavily connected one to the queerness. But even that's not what the actual main story is about. Whenever I've seen a series or a movie or something that is explicitly about the queer experience, it oftentimes comes across as one of a few things to me. Either it's kind of boring because it's so one note and one dimensional that it just doesn't have anything else going for it. It's the second option is that it can oftentimes be hard to watch because it being about the queer experience means that it has to discuss some very heavy topics. And this can be very good, but it can also be extremely hard to watch as a queer person. I mean, watching like a movie and stuff about the systematic oppression and violence against trans people would be extremely difficult for me. Just as an example. And the third thing that can sometimes be an issue for me when watching this stuff, especially with live action content like this, is that because it's all about the queer experience And this kind of goes in with the first one too, with it being like sometimes boring and whatnot. Because it's all about the queer experience, it doesn't have time for anything more. And so much of the series suffers because of that. In terms of story, in terms of character work, in terms of just entertainment and depth, it's like all of that stuff suffers because they're so focused on telling a story about the queer experience that you're focused more on the message and the themes than, actually making a good story, making a good, entertaining story. And don't get me wrong, like I said, I love when shows touch on this stuff. But I want them to be an entertaining show first. That the discussions and themes of these queer characters and stuff feels like it's part of the characters rather than just a message that you're trying to tell for the sake of telling a message. I don't want it to feel like, I know this sounds weird, but I don't want the message, I don't want the queer message and theme to be the highlight. I don't want it to be what the series is about. I feel like when you give it that big of a pedestal, it makes it feel too forced rather than natural. Owl House's queer romance and characters are so good because they're so naturally integrated into the series. They feel like they're just part of the world. When you have a series that is all about queer people and their experience and nothing else, it doesn't feel like a natural part of the world. It feels like the world is built around it. And that just feels wrong to me. It feels off. It feels like it's almost not really elitist, but it's like the opposite of the worst direction. You don't want to go you don't want to go down the other side because then you just don't have queer representation. But here it's like it's all you have. You don't have good story or characters or anything else. It's like, what's the point? You have nothing that bolsters this queer rap. Nothing that makes it entertaining and fun and exciting and makes it matter. You can't just throw in representation without any care and expect it to stick. You actually have to put effort into making it work. And not just for the people out there who have a hard time, accepting this representation. You need to do it for the people the representation is for as well. Because otherwise it's like, what are you doing here? What are you actually accomplishing? It's like, if it's boring, if it's nothing but this and doesn't have good story and characters, people aren't going to watch it. Then what good is the representation at that point? Another good example of representation feeling natural to the series and the world because of how well it's executed is actually Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol is actually great with stuff like that because, again, that's not what the series is actually like primarily about. It's set dressing. It allows the characters to feel like people because they're characters already. When you find out they're queer, they already feel like they're established, even if they're necessarily not. They might be revealed to be queer pretty much right away, but when it's not the focus of the series, it allows it to blend in with everything else that you're putting into the series. I'm probably really bad at explaining this, so I hope that I got my thoughts through well enough. Um, all of this rambling is to say that with Heartstopper, I know this series is about the queer experience. I know that is like the focus here. It's not like with a series like the Chucky series, where it's like, oh, the main character just happens to be queer and gets a boyfriend and stuff. It's like that's not the point of the Chucky series. That's not the focus. But it's nice to see that representation inserted in a very natural way, in a very believable way. And so with this, I'm nervous, and that's why I haven't checked it out yet. That's why I've never watched this series before now, because I'm afraid that it's going to be all about the message and not have anything else. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the case. I'm saying that I'm afraid that's going to be the case. I have no clue if it will be. Because the thing is, like I said, this is a very popular series, and it is based off of a comic series, which is pretty interesting. I have not read or even seen any of the comic stuff, so I can't speak to how this is going to adapt that. But I'm still very interested to see like how the representation is done and how it is compared to, other aspects of this series. Will this series have good character and story um that can stand on its own without just having to be, a follow-up to the fact that it's queer? I don't know. I also don't know if I know anyone who's in this. I have no clue. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely interested to check this out. I'm glad that it seems like the episodes aren't an hour long. From what saw with like getting this first episode downloaded, it seems like it's about half an hour. It's a little longer than a normal televised episode where it's like, oh, this is like 21, 22 minutes. But this is more like 29, 30 minutes because it's a streaming series. And that's fine. That's like some extra minutes and all. Some of that is still, credits. And knowing Netflix, probably a good amount of it is still credits. Netflix has so many credits. Um, but yeah, it's like even with that, I'm just I'm curious, and I'm really hoping I like this. Um, I'm really hoping that this ends up being a success for me. And I don't know how many episodes it is, by the way. So like I don't even know how much I would have to get through to finish the season. Um, but I'm really hoping that this doesn't end up being one of those kind of series I don't like. I'm hoping that this ends up being more like one of the good ones I named. And I'm going to give it a fair chance. I'm going to give it a fair shake. So let's hope it lives up to my hopes here. Um, and if it's not for me, it's not for me. Some shows, some movies just aren't for me. But I want to give it at least a chance to prove itself. So let's get into this and see what we have in store. But before we do, I do want to remind you all that we have a lot of great content to check out on the channel. Between Monday and Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions. And on Mondays, we also have YouTube reactions, or at least YouTube adjacent reactions. Shorts, specials, miniseries that just don't have a lot of episodes, or even just, something off of YouTube. Anything that doesn't quite fit into a normal series or movie reaction goes in this slot. And speaking of movie reactions, we have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. They are pre-recorded during the week and uploaded on the weekend so that every day has some sort of reaction content going on for it. And we are also currently playing through a couple of Let's Plays on the channel. We've been posting Spider-Man 2 parts, and I just want to tell you it's not only going to be every day now, but Spider-Man 2 is now going to be twice a day until we catch up. Because I really want to get caught up and start posting the replacement series before I get too far ahead in that. You know what I mean? So we're going to be posting Spider-Man 2 parts twice a day every single day of the week. We have also been playing through Animal Mutation on Saturdays, but if you have seen the update video that I posted today, you'll have seen that we're actually going to be taking a break from that. We're not dropping it. I want to make that clear. We are just going to take a break from it because I'm starting to feel a little burned out on it. To put it simply, I'm very mixed on the game as it is. So I think I just need to take a little bit of a breather. Because of that, we are not going to have Anno Mutationum this Saturday. And starting next week, it's actually going to be replaced by Poppy's Playtime, Chapter 1, which is a donation reward for Venom. I just have to change this little logo over here to Poppy's Playtime. But it'll still be on Saturdays. I just have to change that. I just haven't done so yet. So, yeah. We will be back with Anno Mutationum in the future, though. We're not dropping it. We're just putting it on hold for the moment, just so I can have a breather from it. So yeah. That is the plan as of current. If you have any questions regarding that, feel free to ask in the comments or on social media or on Discord. Whatever works best for you. But all of that being said, let us get on with the reaction and see what this first episode has in store for us. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction because yes, we do redirect all reactions on this channel. I understand. You don't want to have to click all these extra links just to get to the reaction. You'd rather have it be here on the channel, on the video, even if it's cut up. And I understand that. But you do understand as well that YouTube's copyright system is really shitty. It's really bad, and it gets worse as time goes on. Because of this, to avoid any possibility of a channel strike or even worse, a channel termination, which I have dealt with before and don't want to deal with again, to avoid that, we push all the reactions off to another site just to be safe. Luckily, it's only one click. You just have to go down to the description below. You just click the link. It takes you right to it. That's all you have to do. And on another plus side note, on top of it just being one click, because of this, all of you, every single one of you watching this, gets to see the full unedited reaction completely free. No paywalls, no Patreon subscription, and you don't even have to sync up your own copy. The reaction will be in full on the video that is linked in the description below. I think that's pretty awesome because not every reaction channel is, rightfully so, able to get away with that. Due to various things like monetization and whatnot, a lot of reaction channels do have to have a paywall, or at the very least, have you sync up your own copy. Sometimes both. And it's understandable, but because of the situation that I'm in with this not being like a monetized channel and everything, I am able to give that all to you for free. And I do pride myself on being a channel that can do it. And I understand why not everyone can, but I do pride myself on being able to. And after you watch the reaction, by the way, you can come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after fades to black, but then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts. And will not only contain spoilers to the episode, but my thoughts on things, my thoughts on the series, on the representation in this case, and maybe even stuff related to the channel. You never know. It's always worth checking out. So, that all being said, I want to thank you so much for tuning in, as I always do. I hope that you enjoy the reaction. And if you have any questions, any thoughts, anything, as always, leave those below. But for now, I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, this. I'm gonna say, like, this didn't quite confirm my fears about this, which is a good thing. It didn't quite stick to what I was afraid of. Like, I'll admit, a lot of it was boring. But there was enough of it that was cute and interesting enough to keep my attention. I liked the little leaf thing that was going on, the graphics that appeared on screen. I like stylized stuff like that. And there's definitely some good story to this, but there's a lot of this that was a bit boring to me. I'll just be honest. Um, Nothing about it was too terrible though. Nothing like was really bad enough to where it's like it bothered me or anything. I had no real issues with any of it outside of it just being a little boring. The main characters, I would say both Charlie and Nick. That's their names, right? I would consider them both kind of main characters. Charlie is the main character for sure. He is very out. Everyone knows he's gay. It's not something that he hides. He's very open about it. And he is in a relationship with someone who is completely the opposite. Someone who is figuring out his sexuality and is very closeted. But the problem is not that he's closeted, as Charlie was even saying at the end here. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's figuring things out. It's the way that he treats Charlie. It's the way that he, especially like in public. Like if he's not out yet and everything, and he's not like comfortable or safe or ready to be out, that's fine. That's understandable. But he treats Charlie like this pariah in public. He treats him like absolute dog shit, honestly. And he doesn't need to do that. Treating him like a person doesn't like reveal yourself or anything. It's not healthy for a relationship. Like it's not healthy to have that kind of lack of transparency, lack of honesty regarding, him having a girlfriend and everything. Again, it's no problem, but he needed to be honest about it. He needed to be open about it. If he's going to have a relationship with Charlie, he needed to tell Charlie, it's like, look, I'm not ready to be out yet. I have this relationship with this girl. It's a cover. It's mostly to try and appear normal because I'm afraid of what people will think. And it's very clear that was the issue there. He was absolutely afraid of what people would think if they knew he was gay, because he wasn't ready to be out yet. And that's normal. As someone who has had to come out, especially when I came out as trans, it's like it's normal to be worried about that. And it's actually very normal to hide it by having things that to cover it. For me, as a trans woman, like my big thing was I tried to cover my feelings about being a girl and everything by, kind of pushing it away. Before I truly came to realize and came to acknowledge it. Like I knew for a long time before I came out. Honestly, I've known most of my life. I just didn't want to acknowledge it because I've been always told that was bad. So I pushed those feelings away by pretending to be quote unquote manly. By trying to be into things that were like that, by trying to like focus on stuff like that. And it never felt like me. And when I finally started doing research and everything, I really came to not really realize, but more along the lines of truly acknowledge that I'm a girl. It's like that was kind of a wake up call for me that I've always been like this, and just it's not even that I didn't realize it, it's that I didn't want to acknowledge it. So I understand how difficult it can be to come out, and especially when you're like projecting this specific view of yourself towards others because you're afraid of how they'll treat you if you show yourself any other way. I went through that. Again, that wasn't the issue though. It was how he was treating him outside of the relationship. It was giving Charlie emotional whiplash. It's not safe, it's not healthy. And Charlie confronting him was great. Like Charlie, like through a lot of this episode, I was really worried that he was like too much of a pushover, a doormat in a way. And I'm really glad that I was proven wrong on that. I'm glad that Charlie, even though he's very clearly a nervous kid who has trouble like figuring out what to say to people, I do still like that that he is able to defend himself. Like after this other guy, I don't know if we ever got his name. We probably did. I don't know it. But after he kept pushing, it's like, oh, come on, meet me, talk to me, let's just talk. Charlie finally accepts, and he confronts him completely. He tells him what he was doing was wrong. He's not afraid to confront the problem when he needs to, and that's good. I like seeing that. I've seen so many shows and movies where characters are like afraid to confront the problem and just have to learn to grow from that, and it can get a little samey when you see it so many times. So it's good to see him being able to stand up for himself straight from episode 1. Although he's not like perfect at it or anything, because we see like this other guy, he like forces himself on Charlie, which is very much a huge red flag. It's like, okay, yeah, you were good to get out of that relationship. If this guy's gonna force himself on you, it's like he is legitimately assaulting him. Like I'm not joking when I say that doing that is sexual assault. It blatantly and straight up is sexual assault. And like you could say like, oh, but it's not as bad as if he were like R-wording him or anything, if he were actually like going all the way. And it's like, it's still sexual assault. It can still like extremely poor I'm messing up my words here. Gotta slow down. It can still do immense damage to a person's psyche. It can cause a lot of external and internal pain that leads to trauma and fear and just so many issues. Like you may say, oh, it doesn't seem like a lot comparatively. Oh, it could be so much worse. And it's like, yes, technically it could. But people who say this kind of thing are completely invalidating the experiences of people who face this kind of stuff. I hate the entire argument, it could be worse, because it invalidates people's experiences. It's like, yes, Karen, we know it can technically be worse, but that doesn't mean that this kind of experience can't traumatize and horribly pain some kid. Like, this is a kid, too. And this can traumatize adults. But this is a child who, while he himself is very open, someone forcing themselves onto him, like, that's not okay. That's gonna fuck him up. Speaking as someone who has been sexually assaulted, it's like, people who say this kind of shit irritate the absolute fuck out of me. Because it's like, do not discredit someone's experiences because someone else may have had it worse. Don't do that. Different people have different tolerances for certain actions and words and whatnot. Just because you see it as something lesser in terms of, how problematic or painful or whatnot it is, you don't know what it might do to another person who to them that might seem like the end of the world almost. Like, I've been there, and the stuff that happened to me, like, these same idiots out there would say was not as bad as other people have had it. And again, technically true. But the pain, the trauma, the fear that stuff has left in me, it's like, to say that it's not valid, basically, because other people have had it worse, is so fucking disrespectful. And all this does is make people more afraid to be open and honest about the fact that they were assaulted. Oh, people aren't going to take them seriously because someone else may have had it worse? Why bother being open about it then? Why bother like, telling people? This is why so many people, especially women, take so long to come out about being assaulted. Sometimes years and everything. Or even decades. Because people don't take them seriously. And then them waiting so long just makes them also be taken less seriously. It's a lose-lose situation. I'm getting actually surprisingly heated here about this. This scene was definitely the scene of the episode. Let's put it that way. It's just, it's a topic that, because I've been there and because I've had friends who have been there, it's a very, like, emotional topic, a very personal topic to me. It's something that matters to me. And it's just, it bothers me when I see that kind of stuff. And it should bother anyone, mind you, but it really bothers me, and I really, really hate it. And again, it's just, it's personal too. It's something I've gone through. I just want people to be taken seriously with this thing. And I like that Nick, notably aggressively, and I guess that's partially because he's athletic, pulled this guy off of Charlie and was very defensive of him. He was acting protective, even, in a way. And I'm glad that he was there to help, because it's like, this guy forcing himself on Charlie like that was really fucked up. And his entire, like, arguments and everything that were, like, amounting to stuff like, oh, it's like, you want me, you're just afraid. And it's like, bitch, you're the one afraid. Charlie practically even said the same thing. It's like, no, you're the one who's afraid. Everyone knows I'm gay. I'm out. I'm not, like, hiding it. And like, this bitch is making all of the excuses he can figure out, and it's not working. That's why he started to force himself on Charlie afterwards. He realized his excuses weren't working, and so he was afraid. He was afraid that he might get outed, but he was also afraid that this relationship would end. And so he tried to force himself on Charlie because he felt like, oh, if I just continue to kiss you and show you here that I love you, it's like you'll take me back. You'll be okay with me again. And it's just it's such a gross idea, but it's real. I will give it that. Um, this almost with that scene alone, almost kind of verges into the territory I talked about in the pre thoughts about some of these kinds of shows making me uncomfortable. Them being like hard to watch because since they're about queer themes and messages and characters, they tend to showcase the heavier aspects of that in turn make it difficult to enjoy because it's just like pain. Constant pain. Kind of like Doom Patrol, but for different reasons. Doom Patrol's constant pain was due to a lot of other things, not specifically the queer related stuff. In fact, that really wasn't a big issue with that series, at least from what I watched of it. Um, but yeah, this this episode had a lot of potential to it, but there was that certain boring aspect of it that I was having trouble getting into it because of that. Um, I I'm not sure where this is going to lead. I'm not. I assume that Nick is going to be the one who's going to be learning more about his sexuality through this, and because at the end there, it definitely appeared like he was gaining feelings for Charlie. Um, so he's probably going to be learning about himself and discovering his sexuality and everything, while Charlie is the one who's already out and is going to be more, I guess, the more experienced one in that regard. Um, while it's kind of the opposite in regards to Rugby. They're on the opposite ends of that one. Um, but yeah, I did. I enjoyed this enough for now. I guess is the best way to put it. It's not perfect. I do have some issues with it, but I enjoy it enough to continue to see where it's going. I'm gonna give it some more episodes and see where it goes. I also have to find out. Let me see if I can find out real quick how many episodes this is, specifically in season 1, I guess. How many episodes? I think there's only 2 episodes in Heartstopper season 1. 8. It's 8 episodes. Okay. Oh, this is actually more recent than I realized. This came out in 2022. I thought this was like 2020. I knew it wasn't like that old or anything, but hmm. Okay. Also, Yasmin Finney, like I said, she plays Rose Noble in the newest season, the newest stuff of Doctor Who, and she's pretty good. She's a good actress. So I like seeing that her character in this is also trans. Um, she originally went to the boys' school that Charlie and Nick go to, and was originally part of Charlie's friend group there. But once she came out, she transferred to the girls' school, which it's good that they allowed her to do so. Like that's, I feel like a lot of schools might not allow that, but I guess they're like kind of portraying this like in modern day and everything, and so it's kind of portrayed in a way to where, oh, these schools are more accepting at the time, and it's like there's gonna be some people who probably aren't, and that's probably gonna be part of her storyline. Like, she's probably gonna have to deal with some transphobia and stuff. Um, we already saw in this episode that she's, sitting alone, doesn't really have any friends. So that could just be due to, being a new student, having been transferred over. But I don't know. But yeah, I'm curious enough to see where this goes for now. Um, we'll see what happens as we continue it. Like I said, not the best, kind of boring during a good portion of it, but there's parts of it that definitely got my attention for sure, and there's definitely at least one part that brought out an emotional response. um, but yeah, for the time being, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this first episode of Heartstopper? Let me know your thoughts on that and more all below. And if you have anything else to put down there as well, this would be a good place to do it. But before we close out, I do want to remind you all once again that we have a lot of great content on the channel. Every Monday through Friday, we have a plethora of awesome series reactions, and on Mondays we also do YouTube, or at least YouTube adjacent reactions. Anything that doesn't quite fit into a normal series or a movie reaction goes in this slot. And speaking of movie reactions, we have those every Saturday and Sunday. They're pre-recorded during the week, but uploaded on the weekend. And on top of that, we have a couple of Let's Plays we are currently going through. We are playing through Spider-Man 2 twice a day, every day, until we catch up, and then it will be replaced by the next game that I've already started recording for, and we'll just kind of take it from there as to how often that's going to be put up. We've also been playing through Anno Mutationum, but we are going to be taking a little break from it. Next week we are going to be starting Poppy's Playtime as a replacement for Anno Mutationum for the time being, but Anno Mutationum will return in the future, just taking a little break. And that is our donation reward slot. So both Anno Mutationum and Poppy's Playtime are donation reward Let's Plays. Anno Mutationum is a reward for Matthew Vasquez. Poppy's Playtime is a reward for Venom. And if you want to know how to donate for a future PS5 donation reward, go to the channel search, and all-in-one search, type in June Double Reward Month PS5. It should take you to the correct video that will tell you everything you need to know on how to donate for a future PS5 Let's Play. Or you can just ask me in the comments below. You can ask me on the Discord. We could talk about it on social media, whatever works best for you. That being said, though, thank you as always so much for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.